All righty.
Good night.
Would you please join me in pledging allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome everyone. This is the March 22nd meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. Let me introduce folks here with me. At my far right is Kim Burkert, who's our remote access facilitator. Next to Kim would be Mark Tolbert, Planning Board member. We have Scott Neal, Planning Board member. Amanda Van Laken, Planning Board member. Bob, of course, Planning Board member. I'm Chuck Euler, I'm Chairman of the Planning Board. I have Shauna Bonchak, the town planner, and Lance Brabant representing MRB. And virtually we have Chris Nadler, our Planning Board attorney. And
good evening.
Sitting to the rear is our secretary, John Rotel. Okay. I think everyone is familiar with the procedure, so I won't spend a lot of time on how to address the board, how we proceed with the deliberations. If you're in the room, please go to the podium when called upon and speak, give us your name and address. If you're with us remotely and you'd like to be recognized, please wave your hand, put up the hand sign on the Zoom, or somehow get our attention, and we will. And when recognized, again, we need your name and address, and you can address the board. Our deliberations are very simple. We go through the agenda as published, and we will have the applicants make their presentation as to their plans and an application, and then we will have the board members question the applicant with any questions, comments, concerns. I will then open it up to the public in all situations, whether it's public hearing or just a site plan review, for any comments from anyone in the audience. And then we'll go back and have the board deliberate and hopefully take action if you feel comfortable in doing so. Just remind the board that we have very sensitive mics. So don't mumble under your breath. Don't shuffle the papers any more than you have to. And it is disturbing on the Zoom when you're hearing nothing but papers rustling. I've been in that situation before. Okay. I will go to privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here or online that would like to address the board regarding an issue that's not on the planning board agenda for tonight? If so, raise your hand. Okay, I assume everyone's here for an item on the agenda. I forgot to point out, should you have to leave the room, sir, or we have to leave the room, we have exits to my right and left. Should an emergency occur, please duly note where they are located. And we'll move on with our agenda. First of all, I wanted to attest that there were 2 public hearings tonight. Both were advertised in the Daily Messenger on March 15th. They are for the Venezia Group representing Uptown Point, and also the Venezia Group representing FLAH Properties on Thomas Road. So they have been duly advertised, and we can proceed with the hearings. And with that being said, our first hearing for this evening is for Venezia Group representing Uptown Point owners of property yet to be addressed Brickyard Road, requesting a single stage subdivision approval to subdivide 56.254 acres into 5 lots of all 4 of them all the same size, the 5th lot being 48.91 acres. I understand that the applicant, I'll open the hearing. And I understand the applicant has asked that this be continued. Is that correct, Rocco?
It is. We believe we're going to make the lot size a little bigger depending. We had the potential buyers and I were going back and forth on what they wanted to do, and it turns out they want to do like a construction yard. So the 1.8 acres is not going to be sufficient. So we're negotiating that out right now. So I just felt it was prudent not to get the approval, but to wait until we figure that out.
Okay,
So
thank you.
if we can just adjourn that to next month's meeting, that would be great.
Okay, which meeting? The 12th or the 20th? Will you be ready by the 12th?
Yeah, I think so. If not, I can always make it the other one, but I'd like to try for the 12th.
Well, the only thing is, we have to keep advertising public hearings. So you're,
Let's try for the 12th. Let's try for the 12th. I'll be ready by the 12th.
okay, please have your plans in at least a week before the 12th.
I'll have them in by Friday.
Okay. All right, so at the applicant's request, we will continue the public hearing till April the 12th, excuse me. April 12th. Any further discussion of the board? Any concerns on that date? If not, do I have a motion? We have I think we have a resolution in front of us.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we continue the hearing for the specific application until April the 12th.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll take that up on the 12th. Okay, the other public hearing, which I will now open, is for Nencia Group representing FLAH Properties LLC, owner of property at yet to be determined Thomas Road address, requesting a single stage subdivision to subdivide 9.746 acres into two lots, one being 2.911 acres and lot two being 6.835 acres. The hearing is open. Rocco, you want to tell us?
Yeah. So we've been working with Bruce and Susan Campbell and trying to attain access to our, this is all kind of setting up our big project in this block of land between Summers, Thomas, Airport Road and Brickyard Road. And what Anthony and I would like to do is to have this this southern part of what they own south, it's 6 point some odd acres south of the gas line right away. It enables us to give us a number 6 access point out to a main road, which we feel will really help us with the development, especially with these new rules where, this is going to be a 400 lot development. So, this 30 lot rule on one access point it kind of holds you back a little bit. So this is going to help us a lot. Plus it gives us, there's some wetlands in there. It gives us some additional stormwater management areas. We've been working with the Army Corps on that. So it's a big plus for us to get that. And then Bruce and Susan wanted to retain the north end of this where the pond is and up to Thomas Road to maybe future for future consideration and maybe building their own house or selling it. If you remember back a few months ago, we had this same proposal in front of you because Bruce and Susan had that parcel sold. And that was a combination of a subdivision and a lot annexation for Sherry Thompson next door. So what happened was the people backed out and they didn't want to go forward. And then Susan and Bruce wanted to sell to Sharon, which they did, but it was annexation. So basically you've approved this already. We're just coming back to get it reapproved. And the intention of the subdivision, like I said, is to separate that rear land south of the transmission line, the gas transmission line, to attach to our bigger project.
Okay. Rocco, I just want to make sure you're aware, the board's aware that this property is the newly zoned form-based code.
Okay.
So that, I don't know what you have planned for the lot, and that's something in the future.
You know, it's so confusing because, you know, next door, this underlying zoning is R130 and next door it's R130, but next door is the MUO, which is different from a, what do you say, code base?
The form-based code, those parcels are rezoned, Rocco.
Which ones?
All of Summers.
Well, yeah, but what, okay, so it's code base, right?
Right, but it's rezoned to FBC form-based code district.
What-
We are gonna correct the resolution and the zoning determination to reflect that.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, so any plan that references R130 needs to be changed.
So I guess if we do develop any of the 6 acres, it'll be a townhome type thing. But mostly this is being purchased for future stormwater management and maybe some green space to be added to the other project, but there may be a couple of townhomes that go along Summers Drive. I have one individual who wants to do that, has been pursuing me about that.
Okay, but for tonight, this is a simple subdivision.
Yeah.
The only thing we gotta make sure is that being that it's form-based code zoning, we don't create a non-conforming lot and I think you said that the
max-
form-based code is very
The minimum,
benevolent.
yes, well, there is a maximum actually in FBC that we discovered.
Maximum.
Maximum,
lot size.
6.9 acres. So this needs, right, I know,
Lot 2 just made it.
yeah, lot 2 just split in there.
Okay, and the minimum you said is around
It's
5,000.
3750, actually, 0.09 acres.
Okay.
Very small.
So technically, these 2 lots meet the form-based code in terms of lot area. As far as setbacks and all that, that would be something that would be part of the development. But again, I just want to make sure we got on the record that it is form-based code. It does have its own unique uses. You had mentioned something about the Campbells building a single-family home. Rocco, I don't think that's allowed in the form-based code.
Right.
Correct? So, okay, just make
So
sure.
I think they're online here, so maybe you could explain that to them. I don't see them, but they said they were going to attend.
I don't see them all.
Well, I think you, as their engineer, I explained that to them, or they can.
Oh, I certainly will.
Okay,
Oh, there she is.
hello, Mrs.
I think I hear
Campbell.
him.
Well, but if you want to speak now, it's that, yeah, you can do it. Okay, go ahead, Mrs. Campbell, if you'd like to say something.
She just connected, she may not have heard you say.
Yeah.
Mrs. Campbell, would you like to address the board? Okay, well, we can wait till public comment.
I think she's muted.
She is muted. I see that.
I see her. I see you got to read. You got to read it out.
All right, well, we'll come back there.
Okay.
Anybody else on the board have any questions on this application? Pretty simple. The fact that the lot 2 is Summers Drive a public street?
Yes, town road. Town road.
Okay, I was looking at staff. I was,
Yeah.
Oh.
You're right. I believe so.
It is.
okay.
Sorry.
I believe you're Rocco, but I have to check.
No, that was my fault.
With the boss,
I was looking
that's
at you.
All right, so lot 2 does front on a public road.
It is a little
Lot 1 is
confusing
in the
because
corner of somewhere in
One
the
that shows
top,
it's
so
Summers,
that's
another
good.
shows it's Airport.
And any other questions from the board?
I do not have any questions.
Rocco, you had mentioned in PRC, I just want to make sure, before we move on, you were thinking about amending the plan, moving that lot line up the north side of the gas line because of something about.
Yeah, we were fooling around with that for a while, but I think that Bruce and Susan want the buffer below the pond, even though it's all cattails and it's definitely wetlands. We've had it delineated. they want that as a buffer, so we added, we kept it where it was. It makes sense. I was kind of trying to make it a little bit easier to get underneath the gas line, but it turns out the gas company's not much of a problem, so we're okay with the sewer line, so we're okay.
Okay, we'll go as presented then.
Yeah, yes, sir.
The pond itself, that is subject to what kind of delineation in terms of wetlands?
Well, it was certainly part of the wetlands that we had Gene Collette from Environmental Resources over in Spencerport kind of helped us with that, and it's part of the federal wetland.
Okay, I asked Lance and he said that delineation is part of his review and should be shown on the plan.
Yeah, we can put it on there, but one question I had was, Lance, are you there?
I'm here.
So you raised a question about the X's and O's and SHPO. We've subdivided this property a number of times and that's never come up. How do we handle that?
I would say for right now, Rocco, as a subdivision, you don't have to do anything with it.
Okay, fine.
Once we get to development.
I understand.
That'll be a trigger at that point in time. I'm just acknowledging that the EAF, as it stands now, should highlight that that's a yes, that corresponds will at some point in time be required.
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't have a hold up on that. That's all.
No, not at all. Thank you. No, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay,
And one more question, Lance. One more thing that confused me was you made a comment about some kind of access points, and I showed both access points on this project and the other project, but you had to comment on each one of them about a design of a driveway. Were you just looking for site distances?
Yeah, so the comment reads, a feasible driveway location for lots 1 and 2 should be shown on the plans. The required site distance should be indicated on each driveway. All I'm looking for is a logical spot to put a driveway that meets the site distance criteria. It's not a design. You don't have to design it.
I'm confused because it's on there. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe I missed it.
Okay.
I think he had it off lot 2 and so.
Where do you see the driveway next one?
You see where the arrows are up here? No,
It's
further
an
up.
email that came today.
Oh, Jesus.
The Lord speaks.
What?
Up on Thomas Road.
Yeah, I'm
Lance,
looking
wait,
at that.
cross, go to the left,
Yeah.
left, bingo.
Oh, there's a site distance. Oh, but-
Wow.
okay.
And I think there's one down further.
Do you think there's one for lot 2 as well? If they're already on the plan, they're already. on the
Okay.
plan.
Better belts and suspenders, right? We got it covered. Okay, I will yield to Mrs. Campbell. It sounds like you want to address the board.
No, we've had some technical difficulties, so we've missed most of the conversation, unfortunately.
But Susan, what I want them to explain to you is what you can and cannot do with lot 1.
Okay,
It looks like we can't build a single family home there.
I think we were under that impression from the new zoning that would only allow multifamily homes.
Right, that's correct.
right. We had a deadline of the middle of December if we wanted to be grandfathered into building a single dwelling or single family home, I believe.
Mhm. We just wanted to make sure that wasn't a surprise, that's all.
No, we know.
Are you agreeable, Susan and Bruce, and everything we've talked about?
Well, as I said, we really just are getting on. We were having some technical difficulties. We're out in the middle of Wisconsin with very poor reception and limited knowledge of how to work this. So,
Okay, well, it's exactly what we talked about earlier, me and Bruce and you, and that you get the whole gas line easement and you got almost 3 acres, so I think it's from our original deal, that's where we're at.
correct. And I did hear at the end that there was something about needing some more information. And that email just came to us today with the list of different things that still have to be clarified, I guess. And so we've not really had a chance to look at that yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Should we respond to all of those?
No, that's for me to do.
Right.
Okay, all right. And then the other thing is, as Sue just said, we're under the impression that if we wanted to, which I don't think we will, but if we wanted to build a single family home, since we had an approval for that with the past and now dead purchase offer from a buyer who was going to put a single family home on there, we understand that we still have that right if we want to.
No, it ran out in
No, we
December.
don't.
That ran out in December. We had to decide that by December.
Oh, I thought you meant this
We
coming.
never acted on that, Bruce.
That's right. We had until the middle of December to act on it.
Okay,
But just so you folks know, it's my opinion and probably your opinion too now. We've discussed this a number of times that the property is more valuable being multifamily because that's what the majority of that neighborhood is multifamily, so.
right.
Correct.
Rocco, I don't want to get into the use too much tonight. Tonight, we're just talking the subdivision.
No, I know.
2 lots, so let's move on with that. I'll now open it up to anybody in the audience who would like to address the board regarding this application. Does the board have any other items? I guess I should get in the record that MRB did a review and provided a letter dated March 17th.
And that's the one we just got today that you haven't read yet.
Okay, and we were not required to contact the county planning board, so we got nothing back from them. Chris Jensen had no comments. I did notice on the seeker part 1, question 13A was not answered. I think you picked that up too.
Yeah, I think our comment letter suggested that EAF part 1 just be amended to identify that as a.
Yeah, does any portion of the site of the proposed action or lands adjoining contain wetlands or other water bodies regulated by the federal, state, local agency? And the question was unanswered, so.
So we were in we can answer that now, but at the time we were in the process, we had, for the snow, we couldn't do the delineation, which has been done now, so we can't.
Okay, and your answer is
Yes,
yes?
yes, it is in a federal wetland.
Okay, let the record show that the applicant answered yes to question 13A of part 1 of the seeker application. Okay, this, I will close the hearing if no one else has anything to add. If not, the hearing is closed. Let's move on to the seeker and the subdivision resolution. The seeker is unlisted. Someone want to give me a motion on the seeker?
I'll make a motion for seeker resolution, unlisted action at Thomas Road, CPN 22-006, not in the R130 zone, but in the form-based code district now, with answering of 13A, yes. And 4 conditions, Lance?
Correct.
Oh, no, that's
So
subdivision,
that's-
that's subdivision with none, So just
Yes.
unlisted,
The only condition would be the 13A. answer.
13A. yeah.
You're talking the seeker resolution, right?
Yes, you can, with a change of the zoning to
Correct.
form-based code.
Whereas, to identify that.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. Scott?
Make that motion.
I did.
Okay, thank you. Bob made a motion, Scott seconded. Any further discussion on seeker? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Let's move on to the subdivision. Someone want to take that?
I will make a motion for the single stage subdivision approval for CPN 22006 at Thomas Road under the form-based code zoning with the 4 conditions, and we're sticking with 4, right, plans?
I believe so, with the correction again in the first paragraph.
Gotcha.
Identifying it as form-based code.
Yep.
And I
Make
think
that motion.
Rocco, the plan says R130, so that should be,
I'll get that taken care of.
okay. Make it.
So 5
With the 5
Plan
conditions.
For number 5 for the subdivision. approval.
So we have a motion and I need a second.
I'll second it.
Mark seconds. Further discussion on the subdivision. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you, Campbells, for attending. Don't eat too much cheese. Up there.
We're trying not to.
All right, folks, have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Good night, Ron.
Yeah,
Appreciate all your efforts.
Okay, that takes care of the public hearing. We now move on to site plan approvals. First one being McMahon LaRue representing Thomas Delaney on our property at 3492 Sandy Beach Drive, requesting a single stage site plan approval to tear down and rebuild a single family dwelling, pending the ZBA approval. And my understanding, you got that approval, Mr. Delaney, correct? And so we are in a position to, if you feel comfortable, to act on this. I do know there's been a lot of plans shooting around, coming in at different times in the process. And there were reviews done, and then Mr. LaRue responded with a revised set of plans to address those reviews. Then another review came out. So hopefully we're all up to speed on the reviews. I think the latest came in yesterday, the 21st. So it was posted, I think, today. Did you post it yesterday?
I think we posted it.
Okay.
yesterday.
For the board's sake, you've got paper copies that were revised dated the 16th. So they were subsequently changed,
Right.
I think, to address MRB's issues. I think that was happening. Okay. So you've got to bring the board up to speed, Mr. Delaney or Mr. LaRue, as to what changes have occurred over the course of the last week. So we make sure we understand what we're considering tonight. Okay.
I'm Tom Delaney.
Basically what we've done is Tom has given us some abstract of title. And we've gone through that abstract, all 128 pages of it or so, and found whatever abstracts are our easements that are in the abstract, put those on the plan. We've addressed MRB's comments, and such as the trees that'll remain and the demolition permit. Very few changes to the plan itself, other than we've added the walkway. The same is going to be the pavers as a back patio. But nothing much changed on it other than that. The plan's pretty much the same. We've added staging area, construction staging area in accordance with MRB's requirement, and we've shown the concrete washout area. We've added a couple of details to the plans, but other than that, it's a straightforward project, and I think we've addressed all the comments that Lance has given us.
And I assume
Delaney's there too. He can answer any questions you might have on as far as the home is concerned.
Lance, I assume you haven't seen the revised.
No, I haven't Have a chance to look at those things.
Well, and for the board's sake, as we know, usually Lance provides us a review letter. And we make, if we decide to vote in the affirmative, we make the approval conditional upon all the items in Lance's letter being addressed. I guess what you've done, Mr. LaRue, is in your interpretation, gone and resolved those issues already. And I guess Lance hasn't had a chance to confirm that yet. So I guess if we leave Lance's letter on the record and have it be it's still a condition of approval, I think whether it's been addressed or not addressed, will have to be addressed as a prior to the signing of the plans.
That's not a problem. We understood that, and we didn't get the comments until late last week, but we certainly wanted to get our response and some more up-to-date plans into the town into the planning board for your review, but didn't have time to send down hard copies, unfortunately. But that being a condition, not a problem.
Yeah, and the hard copies were very useful. It's like going back to the old days when we used to get all hard copies, and they do serve a purpose other than killing a few trees.
I
So
know the old days.
So let's, for the board's sake, let's consider review of the hard copy that we got, assuming that any revisions that were made in the 21st edition, March 21st, were to address Lance's, and that can be checked by Lance and confirmed by Lance at a later date. So let's focus on the hard copy that we got in terms of any questions you would have of Mr. Delaney or Mr. Wu.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
Just for the record, date of the plans that we're reflecting and discussing are February 17th, 2022.
With three revisions on them. We
What's
have
the
two
latest
revisions.
revision?
We have two revision dates. And the last one was yesterday's revision.
Not including yesterday's.
We will be considering tonight 316. There was a 321 revision, which was to meet
16.
So we haven't had a chance to look at that, and
I may have missed the March 16 in terms of my resolution. I just wanted the record to reflect what came to it.
so we're looking at the plans submitted. So again, I open it up to the board in terms of any questions that they may have.
I have quite a few. I don't know if I want to start.
So
I do want to put this into the record too. MRB Group did review the March 16 plans and then provided a letter dated March 7th, because so that you guys are aware.
so your review is based on the
Correct.
16. Okay.
I think before I ask my question, I'd like to have the contractor explain how they're going to manage the water flow off the house. Mainly because I was there the day of that rainstorm on Saturday, I think it was, and that place was a swamp. On the south side of your house there was a swamp, but the right side was dry. And I noticed that the downspouts go into the ground into that French drain. I think.
I just bought the property, so I'm
And
not
then
familiar.
the
with
left side of the house, south side of the house goes onto the ground, and that was a swamp. But the right side, or the north side, was dry. That was draining out into the lake.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to give any knowledge of the existing
Hopefully he
condition. Al,
Al,
Al, can you?
Al, I know you're proposing a drainage system. I heard you describe it last week at the ZBA. You want to go through that for Mr. LaCourse?
Yeah, what we're doing is for water quality. First of all, we're splash blocking to our swales that are running at a combination of either 0.77 on the south side or 0.82 on the north side, running all the way down, and then eventually over the top of the concrete walkway, and then through a gap in the seawall to the lake. It's a positive slope. I know it's flat, but it is a positive slope, and it was meant to filter out any pollutants that may come down. Now we're further away. Instead of being 4 feet away, we're 6 feet away. So we got a little more room to put a swale in there, and that's what we've done. So we're not suggesting that we're gonna pump anything, and we're not going to hard pipe anything to the lake. But that is a positive slope, and it will need certainly some attention. It's lower than the neighbor to the south, and lower than the neighbor to the north. Their drainage is going to be able to come onto us, but we're not draining onto them. But it is a positive slope, a little shy of 1%. Excuse me, my voice is going already. A little bit less than 1%, but it's a positive slope all the way to the lake.
So,
Now our structure is getting built up higher too. So that gives us a little bit more room because of the floodplain. This whole area is in a floodplain. And by code, we've got to be 2 feet above the floodplain with our finished floor of the garage. So that's what we have. And so it's a workable slope, but it's going to have to be constructed right on.
so what's your elevation of the house gonna be? Because the plans show 690 is basically the elevation elevation of that area, but then you have places on the house where it's 693.
Yeah, 693.19, the flood zone conversion from 29 to 88 is 691.19, so we're 2 feet above. And the finished floor of the house is 693.63. We're not proposing any steps out of the garage into the home, except for about a 2-inch lip and a slope to the garage. So the ground at the southeast corner of the house is 691.69, where the invert of the ditch is 690.62. So we've got some slope in there, and it's as you go back toward the lake, the differential gets bigger. So if you've got more slope, both from the property line to the south to our swale, and as it goes all the way down to the lake on both sides, very similar to that. So we're taking anything the splash blocks, and we're taking it all out to the lake. And we want it to go slowly, because then all the pollutant loading gets a chance to filter out and sink into the ground and not into the lake.
What you're saying, Bob, it'll go slowly. It doesn't go at all, right?
No, it will go. It's 0.77.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
one side of the house doesn't right now.
Right now, I might not. No, it's pretty flat. Yeah, I
The
agree.
south side is flat.
We're gonna make a positive slope out of it. Even though it's gonna be a shallow slope, it's what they call, and Lance will confer, this is called a grassy swale, which is meant to go slowly, but go. And it's
So
meant
that
to,
swale is gonna, the swale is gonna be on your property, right? Not on the neighbor's
On
property.
both sides.
not on the neighbors, but on our property. And we're not impeding their drainage coming onto our swale. We let their water go onto our swale and on both sides. And then it'll go slowly down to the lake, but it's a positive slope. And it's not now, certainly. We've done a topography out there, and it's flat as a pancake. The house is lower, a lot lower than we're proposing.
On
The
the north
existing
side,
house.
the roof drains go into the ground.
Yeah, right. I have to look at
All
that.
right. I
The-
think I have,
The north side goes into the ground right
yeah.
now.
Mr. Ruru, I know the question came up at the ZBA about a catch basin over in front, almost near that pole in front of the garage. And I confirmed that when I was out there, and it looked like about a 4 or 6 inch plastic pipe going toward the lake on the north side of the property. And I bet you times the donuts that those downspouts go into that pipe. And I don't know where the pipe goes, but it's obviously something that's handling the situation right now. It's not shown on your plans. I would like to have more information as to where that existing system goes. because it appears to be working. And we want to make sure that if it is, or you continue to use it, which it said you're not, I think you had said you're not planning on using it, or you're not aware that it's even there, that we at least address that, because that is a concern of mine. Also, the drainage on the north and south side of the property.
Well, here's one thing, excuse me, here's one thing that's, that really will help us. The existing impervious out there right now in the present condition is 40.79%. We're looking to lower that down to 29.84%. And what we're going to do that is all of that blacktop in front of our garage will now be our grass pavers, and the detail is on the plan. And so what used to run off now will have an opportunity to infiltrate into the ground. And as also as an additional part of that, our driveway, a good portion of our driveway is going to be these grassy pavers also. So we're going to have a grass driveway up to and in front of our garage. There's going to be a 4-foot concrete strip, so he doesn't drag all the grass into the garage and go through that. But a lot of what's running off now won't be. It'll be simply going into the ground. We're under the coverage, the 30%. We're 29.84 right now, and so we've a lot of the drainage that you're seeing on any kind of a storm today won't be there tomorrow. And we don't want to hard pipe anything to the lake. And the reason for that is we don't want whatever pollutants that are in the ground, running across the water or ground or whatever. We don't want those pollutants getting to the lake in a hurry. We want them to go into the ground. So the grassy swales are the best way to do that. They're a positive slope, so the drainage will go, and it'll and when the water gets to the lake, it'll be good quality.
I hear what you're proposing, but I mean, my issue is you're not showing the as-is conditions out there currently. And I think they have to be shown and considered as part of the system you're designing. You understand what I'm saying, Al?
I understand it. I understand.
You're missing a part of the existing system.
Yeah, we missed it when we did the topography because we had all kinds of snow and we have a snow down on the plan, but
Okay.
But let it be said that our intention is to remove all that. And whether it works today or not, we want to remove all that and then go back to a drainage system that will, number one, slowly drain to the lake, but drain to the lake. So if it exists or not, we can always add that later. And if you want to make that a condition, I have no problem with that. We can go out there again and pick that up. That's no problem.
Lance, I hate to put you on the spot. What is your opinion of a grassy swale that you essentially have sod on top of some dirt
So
without any infiltration trench?
typically, we like to see them around 1%, but they're relatively close. The distance between the house and the lake is relatively short. You realize this is a flat area. I think the roof runoff that's being proposed to go there is be a splash pot, so we don't have a concentrated flow until we get to the swale system. Obviously, they're in a flood zone area. It's likely going to have some standing water during times of major rain events. I don't see it. I think from our perspective, we are looking at more of what impact, if any, would they have on the neighbors. I don't believe this would have an impact on the neighbors. I do think there will be some major storm events that could impact this potential property due to its location and the flatness of the rear. I do think the grassy pavers in the front are a positive change to the site. I do think that will have a good impact here. It will negate some of that runoff that you're seeing there now. Obviously, though, it's built on infiltration. They're in a flood zone. When water builds up, that water still got to go somewhere. I'm not sure removing the existing system. I think it would be better served to figure out where it goes, because if not for anything else, it serves as a backup to that overflow, that could occur during the major events. But I did not know that the existing system was out there.
I was there, and I can tell you that side of the house is dry,
Okay.
and it drains right to the lake through a French drain. I can't see the French drain,
Hmm,
but I can only assume that those go into a French drain and goes to the lake, because it was working that day,
gotcha.
and it was dry, but the other side was wet.
Yeah, I would
That was
think
black
that,
box.
you know, he wouldn't want to tie in the roof directly, as they were saying, they're trying to do the water quality. I don't necessarily have a concern with that. I think that it may be, if the roofs are currently tied to that system, then obviously they would be disconnected, and that French drain would still remain if that's what it is. And that would serve as an overflow to whatever does make it to that side of the house, if left in place.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all, Lance.
And I think we'll probably hear from my new neighbor. I think he was involved with the current owner with that system. I don't know anything about it other than there's a drain there. And I think it does go directly to the lake. And like Al said, I'm not opposed to leaving that in on top of having the swale in place, so that I don't want water just like nobody else wants water. So if that helps alleviate, a standing water situation for an extended period of time, I'm fine leaving that in, but disconnecting the downspouts. Because I think right now, the right side of the house, the downspouts are tied into that system.
And we won't be cutting that area where that pipe is. If that pipe goes all the way to the lake, we're going to be filling that area because we want to create that positive swale all the way from Sandy Beach Drive down to the concrete. So we won't be cutting it. We'll be filling it, if anything, to create that positive swale. So we'll be over the top of that. So infiltration down to it as a backup, I don't have a problem with that at all.
The other problem I have with your flow to the lake is that your only place for the water to go is through your concrete, that one slot in the wall.
There's one at the south and one at the north.
There's like a 4-inch wall right there over the ground. So the only way for the water to go is either to the neighbor, or if it makes it, is to that slot where the dogs are going out. So it's only flowing to another wall that's gonna stop it until it goes up about 4 inches.
We have some questions on how that's
That's-
charged.
That's just, doesn't make it for me. So that was, unless there's more questions on drainage, I have other ones.
Yeah, we know about the gaps in the wall because we surveyed those, and then when I designed the drainage swale down both sides, that was taken into account.
And I understand you're gonna take down all your trees, is that right? Or you're gonna leave one?
There's 3 trees that are up on it.
Yeah.
So the one that's on the right side of the house, looking at it from the street, that one's coming down because that would be in the path.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to save the one on the left. And then in the one in the back right corner, that's coming out
Yeah, it's better.
and being replaced. We're replacing all the trees that were taken out.
Okay. The height of your building off your drawings that you showed me, I tried to get the scale, but I can't, but it looks like it's at 27 feet, where your 25 is max. So how could you have your drawing up on that? Almost looks like 29 feet. That was a question I had. Your phosphorus comment, did you make that comment?
Yeah, it's in there. They have to have the notes.
That's a
Okay.
standard.
Yeah, that wasn't on, so.
It's just a general rule that no phosphorus.
That note's been added to the plans, those notes.
Thank you.
You, on your plans, Al, and you showed 3 variances granted, the front and 2 sides.
It's really just 2 variances. that
Right, we
went
asked that be corrected.
So you didn't need to have a variance for your 6 foot where 10 foot's required on the side?
The existing was just over 4 feet.
4.28.
Yeah, 4.28, we're at 6.
So you made it better. So I would take them off your plans though, because it says it's approved. The variance is approved right here and dated. Well, you don't need a variance for it.
Take the 6 foot off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, we sent that in an email as well.
Okay, not a problem.
Did you find out how high the house is now?
I haven't, we didn't do the plans. Tom, do you have them with you?
I do.
The elevation.
We try not to be architects and we've never played one on TV, so we're pretty good.
Anything else? Tom?
The
Yeah, looking
house,
for an answer.
the drainage, I'm not that happy with, but in the height of the house, and then like the floor.
Anyone else on the board?
I had shoreline.
Yes.
Topics.
We've got to address
Yeah.
that. We got to talk about it.
I assume we'll usually say that for last, but yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about shoreline guidelines. Code requires a narrative statement as to what your plans are regarding the protection and aesthetics of the shoreline. I know in your landscape plan, you're showing some bushes. I think at the request of one of your neighbors, you went from an arborvitae and going down to a 3-foot. I just,
Globosas,
go ahead now.
globosas, yeah, we've lowered that, those landscaping, so that the neighbors' view down the lake wouldn't be impacted.
These are the ones either side of the paver sidewalk going out to the dock.
Those are very, very low. Those are boxwoods.
Boxwoods, I
So
see
they're,
that, yep.
they're a foot tall, so they're much, it's over on the north side where the 5 globosa nana are. And the Chinese wisteria and the blue night mist spirea, they're all short plants. Nothing tall there. That shows on our, well, it doesn't show, but on the planning schedule, but they're all low. Excuse me.
Yeah, we, speaking of playing schedule, we have a minimum of 2.5 inch caliber. I think the one, it was theory.
Wisteria,
Yeah, you have it as a 2 inch caliber.
yeah, 2 inch, yeah.
Please make that 2.5.
Oh, 2.5, okay.
Okay. Does the board have any suggestions for out on the lake? I mean, on one hand, we're losing a tree, a nice tree out front. It'd be nice to get in lieu of something in the back, but then there's this concern about the neighbors wanting to be able, and the homes are tight there. So if you put a deciduous tree that grows, it might block the view down the lake of the neighbors. So I guess any type of tree of any elevation along there would be a detriment to the neighbors.
That's what we thought.
There's endless summer plants you have either side of the walkway. You have 3 of them, or 6, 3 on each side. Was your intent to maybe use the walkway to step off the patio, or were you thinking about being able to walk right off the patio into the grass?
Walk off the patio to down to the water.
Okay,
Yeah.
using the sidewalk.
Yes.
But, okay, so maybe if you put a couple more of the endless summer bushes that you're showing there across the patio parallel to the lakefront. In other words, it'd be here.
just to totally, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would dress up that frontage and soften the view of the house itself.
What color
We
you
can
gonna
do
make?
that.
The color is gonna, it's gonna be like a light gray, a two-tone color with shake siding on it.
No white.
The elevation.
That's the only one that creepy.
Okay, let's think of the lakeside. Okay, there's not a lot of windows.
The
So you're
lakeside
thinking
has
of-
windows.
Yeah, there's
I've
windows
got-
on the
I've
lakeside.
got a bigger rendering here, if it's helpful. This is, shows you the front and the sides and the rear.
Yeah, that's the one.
So in Shoreline Guidance, we try to soften that side of the house from the view
The
side.
lakeside.
The lakeside.
That's the goal of Shoreline.
So that's done with landscaping, color of the siding, the facade, as well as windows. I mean, windows can really cause a aesthetic mirror effect on the lake to everybody. On that one drawing you had, I know you mentioned the ZBA, a second floor deck. Those plans do not show.
No,
Okay, they're going to be over top the patio.
yes.
Was the roof? Well, I guess,
It's not gonna be a covered deck.
oh, it's not gonna be, okay.
You said plexiglass,
A
right? Or
clear,
Clear.
yeah.
Yeah,
clear rail.
your safety, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's over the paver patio, so we already got the impervious figured into the paver. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not additional. impervious. Did we come up with a height for the house yet?
Right. Does anybody have an engineering scale here?
Oh, I had one at home.
It says,
Yeah, he doesn't mention the peak.
No. Well, I was adding all these up. Trying to figure it out.
I think for sure. Doesn't give them all.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, let me,
Why don't we stipulate, sorry to break into that, but why don't, that conversation, why don't we stipulate that the plans will comply with a maximum 25-foot height per zoning code?
Be a condition we make.
well, you're showing in your data sheet that the proposed height is 25 feet.
And I think that's higher.
So that is essentially your stipulation.
Yeah, that's code, that's right.
Al, in that data sheet on
So it's
page
saying
2, you have proposed coverage. The second item says concrete sidewalk, 281 square feet. That's your paver sidewalk, right?
The second item down under 281.1,
Under proposed coverage,
right.
you have concrete pad, 72 square feet. Then you
Yeah,
have,
that's the sidewalk from the patio down to the existing concrete walk along the lake. That's what remains, or that's the distance that's gonna be pavers in that part of it.
okay, but it shouldn't be concrete sidewalk, it should be paver sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what I've got on my plan, paver sidewalk. This plan may have taken over because I have it on my plan that was just submitted recently.
Okay, see.
So we're as we get through the comments, we go one at a time and finally we get, we say, well, okay, that's got to change, and we make that change. And so the plan's evolving. But both sidewalks from the driveway over to the covered stoop and that walkway going from the paver patio they're going to be pavers. not concrete.
Understood. So you changed that description to paver already. It was concrete in the 316 revision.
Yeah, you know what? And I forgot to put that, I forgot to make that change. Okay, so I will change that.
And Bruce and I looked at them.
Chairman, I'm sorry, what was that comment this month?
On page 204, under proposed coverage, he's listing the as a concrete sidewalk, which is the walkway down to the lake, but it is in fact a proposed paver sidewalk. So the concrete's being removed.
Yes,
Paver.
Wasn't that part of your question though?
It is.
It is, it was one of my comments, but I just wanted to make sure I
That's fine.
say it the same way. to the board.
Question number 8.
and I show that to be removed, that concrete sidewalk on my latest plan, which was just of yesterday. We're removing that and
Just for
replacing it with paver.
For my curiosity, where does Hoff come into this whole mix? Hoff property, I mean, that's,
He was the owner that I bought it from.
can we take the reference to Hoff?
That's been taken off. Also with the new plans.
One of those moving targets we have to hit. Okay.
Oh, boy, I tell you, it's something.
Now, we appreciate your detail of the grass fill, the grass grid, and the asphalt, but you're showing it twice. And you can probably do away with sheet 4, because that's already showing on sheet 2.
Well, sheet 4 now shows some other things. It shows the planting schedule. It
Oh, that's on sheet
shows,
3.
There's 3 or 4 other, tree protection. There's some other other items that are shown in there
Oh,
that
you're
Lance had
saying
requested.
there's a new sheet 4 then?
Yes.
You're making me nervous here.
Uh-oh.
Things are changing.
Is the details of, I'm assuming you're at the details of the request.
Okay.
That they need to read out.
Okay.
We've added some details based on Lance's comment letter.
Tom has standard notes when it relates to projects like this. Tom has water service detailed, and then Tom has a tree and shrub protection detail. Those
That's
are
right.
standards that we require on every application.
That's correct.
Oh, the dock, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. One other point of information, John, is was brought to my attention, the proposed dock, which you,
So that's a permanent dock. We're not going with a permanent dock.
well, any reference to a dock shouldn't be in these plans. That is something that you go through Chris Jensen with, so let's not further confuse the issue and have any reference to docks off of the site.
Is the board requesting that the dock be removed from the plans, or a note be added to the plan stating that all review associated with dock improvements to be done?
It sounds like Tom said that they're not even considering what's on the plan, so why don't we take it all?
We're doing it.
And then when you eventually decide what you want.
Chris recommended that I put that out.
Chris usually says any reference to the docks, take off the plan, right? And
Well, I think he wanted the board to see that there was a dock plan that you may not be approving it at this point, but at least for context to see what was proposed.
Okay, why don't we take it off for now?
I will take it off.
Thank you. Yeah, we talked about that, the Hoff.
Lance, did you get the height?
So it's an architectural scale, and I don't have an architectural scale. Sorry. We tried, we're trying to convert it, but it's not gonna work. You're gonna come up with a number that isn't gonna be.
All right, well, let's just make sure it's 25 feet. Yeah.
In looking at the existing trees that are there that are 16,
Mhm.
is there any reason would it be possible to actually invert the house plan on that side to allow that to remain?
We haven't applied for a variance for height, so 25 is it.
I'm actually talking about the tree, the 16-inch tree that's there. Since that's where the garage is being located. Is it possible? Is it possible to flip the plan?
Then the other tree goes.
It's a, yeah, a smaller tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16.
I'd rather not flip the plan. For one reason is the bump out for the fireplace is on the side where the larger distance is. And then we'd have to move that building over to that side. And then the owners, both sides have already seen this. So if nothing else, we could plant a new tree.
Front yard.
Roadside.
Yeah, something on the south side of the driveway, the new driveway.
Yes.
Speaking of trees, all those trees between Sequitur and your property down near the lake, are they, those trees and shrubs, are they on your property or on Mr. Sequitur's property?
I think.
Now,
They're all Mr. Seckler's.
oh, they are, okay. Just looking down the property line, it was tough to figure which side they were on. So again, in response to Mr. Tolbert, you said that you will provide another deciduous tree in the front yard.
Yes.
Okay, just don't put it over top of your sewer lateral.
Once we find out where that is. That's right.
Or you'll have roots in it too. Speaking of utilities, where are your water and gas services coming in? Do you know?
So the gas service currently is on the left side of the current house.
Okay,
So that's where the gas meter.
on the south side.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe the water is on that side as well.
Okay, if you have approximate locations, it'd probably be helpful to show the service laterals for the gas and water.
We'll have to confirm the water. Obviously, the gas with the meter being on that side, I think.
Don't hit it when you dig a foundation. Okay. Gas grid, or the grass grids are, they're a nice feature.
Foundation, you said this is slab, right?
This
Slab.
slab,
Yes.
Grids, yeah.
No, the.
Put them
no,
down
the
and you
slab
plug them
foundation.
in.
Yeah.
The house is a
Yeah.
slab
You
foundation.
said foundation, I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
I think underground.
36. Okay. Talked about the variances, there's only two. Talked about shoreline guidelines. Going to get some additional shrubs along the patio in the back. I'm going to revise the elevations to show the deck off the second floor. Correct. At some point. Okay, looking at the third-party reviews. County Planning Board was not required to look at this plan and did not comment. We talked about Chris Jensen's comments. Jim Fletcher had no comments. MRB had their letter of the 17th. The ECB didn't talk about it. Their concerns with the landscaping issues, runoff into the lake, and the removal of the trees. We talked about those pretty well. Got no response from Kevin Mulvaney, no response from the city fire company. And I think that covers it.
The neighbor.
Oh, yeah. I will make sure. Yes, I will now open it up to anyone who would like to speak in our audience. I know the neighbors to the north, Vanderhoff. Would you like to say something? James?
He's muted.
Okay, yep,
Can you hear me?
we can.
Yes, this is Jim and Lori Vanderhoof from 3490 Sandy Beach Drive. Appreciate all the hard work that the planning board's doing, and we've talked with Tom Delaney about a lot of these issues. We really like some of the changes that he's done to answer the questions. We really have just maybe 3 different things that we just want to bring up to make sure that it's understood in the plan that it will be that way. The first thing is with the drainage, at this point in time, behind the present garage, there is almost all the time standing water, no exaggeration, probably a foot deep. And a lot of times that water runs along the north side of their garage into that drain that's in their blacktop driveway. That goes through the French drain, is connected to the sump pump that's presently on their north side. And that sump pump pumps it out to the lake. When I talked to Tom, he was willing to think about keeping that French drain there so it would continue to drain towards the lake. Without a sump pump though, draining it out, I'm wondering how dry it will be or how that will change how fast the water is going to the lake. Because as Al said, it's only 1 inch difference. And so that water is not going to drain very fast.
Oh, that's true.
Is the sump pump on the Delaney property, Mr. Randall?
Yes, it is. It's right against their house.
Okay, and so it would be the Delaney's responsibility to maintain that sump pump, if it remains.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Sir?
The other thing we had was there is we believe a manhole in the driveway that they presently have. So putting the grassy pavers there, I'm not sure how that manhole will correlate with that grassy paver, if it would just remain the same or if that would have to be changed.
It'll remain the same. Same elevation.
Okay. All right, and the only other thing we had was on the drawing, the new drawing that I looked today at for 317, or maybe it was 321, I can't remember. I think it was 321. The landscaping labeled 3, 4, and 5 type bushes. We talked last week about having those instead of the great green arborvitae that go really tall, to making it down to about 3-foot plants. The plants that are in the drawing presently show that they will be 5 to 6 feet tall. They're labeled 3, 4, and 5. So I wanted to make sure that that's not going to impede our view of looking to the south end of the lake from our place, having plants that'll be too tall there. Tom had mentioned, and he's been very understanding and done a great job with helping us understand stuff, that they would probably be 3 foot tall. I just want to make sure in the drawing here, they label them as 6 feet tall.
We'll take a look at that.
I think the species indicates that it could grow as high as 6 feet tall. Our intent would be to keep them at 3 feet. We're not trying to obstruct anybody's view. New to the lake and managing right and left, we'll be conscientious of the height of the plants and not looking at blocking anybody's view north or south.
I can see where you're probably looking for a privacy too.
That was the intent.
Yeah.
We just don't want them having parties without inviting us.
The nosy neighbor, huh?
That's really all the concerns we have. We've already said the bump out is fine with us on that side of the house, the north side of the house, and everything else seems to be looking like it's going to be a real nice place.
Okay, well, thank you for your input. Fitting in this evening. Anybody else in virtual land like to speak?
Hold on, hold on.
Okay, if not, any more comments from the board? Al, Tom, anything to add?
No, I'm good.
All righty, well, let's sort of recap as to some of the things that are left hanging. Definitely, Al, you gotta do a little research as to where that existing storm drain system runs on the north side of the property, see where it is. I think it's be beneficial to, and show it on the plan and in your submission, whether you're gonna keep it, you're gonna get rid of it, how you're gonna handle it. And Lance, in your review, see what they're proposing, if they leave it, will function with various swale, or if they take it out, will that drainage be sufficient? Okay. Yes.
We will do that.
Okay. Anything, let's see, how you making out with, let's see, talk about that. See, this is Shoreline Guidelines, talk about, show guys, elevations on the deck. Okay, one of the third-party reviews. I think we're ready to move on. This is a type 2 action for seeker. I'll make a motion that we consider this a type 2 action for the purpose of seeker, and therefore this body does not have to take any more action under the seeker regulations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's see what we came up with for the single stage site plan. Lance was taking good notes. Why don't you give us the conditions and we'll go from there.
Ones that I've added? Or all of them?
Just the ones.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start with one that's on there. I know there was discussion earlier about the variances. So number 6, I think it's still accurate as written that all variances as approved by the ZBA are to be detailed on the plans. That would correct the error that's currently shown. Number 7, when those added, I have the site plans to be revised to update the landscaping schedule to reflect the minimum 2.5-inch caliber at planting. Number 8, the plans are to be updated to remove all references and or improvements associated with the dock. I don't know if that's accurate, but that was my note. Number 9, the site plans are to be revised to provide one deciduous tree in the front. Is the front the roadside? Is that correct? Or are we talking lakeside?
Roadside. Yeah. South side of the driveway.
On the south side. I had that in there to the south side.
Deciduous.
Number 10, the site plan to be revised to provide additional shrubs along the patio area in the rear of the property, lakeside.
Similar to what's proposed.
Somewhere.
Just extend it to the end.
Somewhere. Okay. Number 11, the architectural elevations are to be revised to show the deck off the second floor. And then number 12, the existing storm sewers, the existing storm system as discussed at the plan board meeting, March 22nd, 2022, is to be delineated on the plans and incorporated into the design of the site if to remain.
Show service, all the service laterals. Electric and gas.
Oh, yes.
13, so
Yeah, they should sanitary, but not water, yeah.
Not gas.
all service laterals, plans to be revised to show all service laterals.
Approximately.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Chuck, repeat that first one, number 13.
Site plans are to be revised to show all service lateral locations.
Al, that sanitary sewer manhole that Jim referenced, I don't think that's shown on your plan, so I don't want to make a condition, but would you pick that up, please?
I got a note to do that.
All right. I need a motion reflecting those conditions.
Move that the planning board approves with the now 13 conditions for CPN 22008.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Please.
Amanda.
There's a seconded. Any further discussions? You put the right plan read.
Yeah, I have that note, March 16th.
16th, yeah.
And I have that on all of them, including the fire.
21st. Just. All right, get a motion, a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good luck, folks. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
All righty, Carlinda, how are you this evening? You are here representing yourself. All right, our next application is from CPN 22011, Works Engineering Representative Quincyana Trust, is that the correct pronunciation? Quincyana? Quincyana. Owners of property at 4760 South Menteith Drive, requesting a single stage site plan approval for a tear down and rebuild of the cottage. Sarah Linda Hooker representing the trust. Please present. Good evening.
So as Chuck said, this is a tear down and replacement of a small cottage on the property that is on the south side of Menteith Creek. We're right out at the tip of Menteith Point. The parcel is family owned, so I'm not representing myself, I'm representing actually a vast group of relatives. This property's been, was purchased by my grandparents in 1922, so we have hit our 100th year. And there are 3 cottages on it, 3 all seasonal, and a small barn as well. I'll just give you a brief history of it. When my grandparents bought it, there was an old Adirondack style cottage that was right out kind of near the point. That was the family vacation location. As the family grew, a couple of other buildings were built, one in 1938, a small cottage, one in 1948, slightly larger cottage. And then in 1966, the original cottage, what we call the big house, there was a fire, we lost it. And in 1968, a new house was created on the site of the original cottage. So now we've got 3 houses, 1938, 48, 68. And but they continue to be the site for an extended family vacations. I'm one of a minority of owners and family members who live here in the area. Most of them come from all over the place. Some of them come from California, New England, South, whatever. We share it. We have a system of people reserving a week at a time. And so over the course of the summer, it's used by almost somebody different every week. They're still seasonal properties. There's really only fairly dense use during the July and August. June and September are, sort of some used some, and earlier than that or later than that, hardly at all. So the building that we're proposing to remove and replace is the one that was built in 1938, the oldest of the cottages. The other 2 are down close to the lake. You have the site plan. And the one that we're talking about, we call it the little house, that is set back from the lake. It's about 35 feet from the top of the creek bank. And it's about 500 square feet. So it was built essentially as a bunkhouse, and then a small kitchen was added and a half bath was added. And it's been pretty much that way ever since. So it's kind of a marginal house, and our position now is we're as the family is growing, we'd like to have something that's a little bit more usable. as the third cottage there. So, and we don't really intend to change the use. It's still likely to be seasonal, but with the new energy code and so on, you have to make a choice between either no heat at all, or it has to be considered a year-round house and meet the energy code. So this is going to be technically a year-round house, but we really don't intend to have anybody living there in the winter. Although you never know, somebody will probably try it sooner or later, but it's not going to be me. So the proposed house, if you go to the next one, is on the same site as the existing one. The utilities are all there. The new house is going to be a bit bigger. We're going to maintain the same distance from the creek. But the existing house is about 500 square feet, plus another 125 or so screen porch on the front. The new one is going to have a footprint of about 775 square feet, and it'll be a story and a half. So rather than a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom house, it will be a 3-bedroom and 2-bathroom house. But the utility situation is good. We've got town water, we've got gas, we have a septic system that was installed in 2012, so it's up to date. And we have talked with the watershed inspector about the necessary expansion to the system, and he's given us preliminary okay for putting in 2 more leach lines. The size of the tank is okay. There's an existing pump tank and force main that will take sewage out to the leach field, which is actually way out by Westlake Road. So let's see, being in the floodplain, this is in the floodplain. So as you know, the requirement is that the floor level has to come up to 2 feet above the flood level. So the floor for this new house is going to be about 2.5 feet above where it is now. And we're going to do a slab on grade. So this will be a full foundation house, no crawl space. And we will grade up around the house so that the proposed landscaping in the immediate vicinity of the house, here's the landscape plan, is the kind of a rock garden approach with native trees and perennials and ground covers in the zone right around the house itself. Our hope is to, with this new house, I mean, we're really going to appreciate some amenities like having heat, for instance, a bathtub, and having enough space for a few more people rather than having people sleeping in these tiny spaces in the living room. But and we'll probably extend the occupancy season into the spring and fall a little more than we do now. But primarily, you know, this is the place where we're able to maintain our family ties and family traditions as a vacation place, and our hope is to continue to do that as long as we can. So the town has reviewed this. Been to the ECB. We've seen the comments. Our original proposal on parking was to continue what we do now, which is we've got a driveway that comes down from Westlake Road, and it is shared with several of our neighbors to the south. And then when you get to our property, there's a circular drive, and the one that we're talking about is inside the circle. Those driveways are all a combination of dirt and gravel. That driveway was put in 1935, so it's had 85 years of use, and it's pretty, it works. And it's so Chris Jensen told us, well, you need to have a hard surface parking place for the new house, which seemed to us a little silly because you've got basically, the whole driveway is a kind of informal, although perfectly adequate surface, and it seemed a little silly to put in a hard surface single space for it. But if that's what we have to do anyway, then it occurred to us, well, why don't we do have the barn, which has got a concrete floor in it. So why don't we identify that as our parking space? And then we will add a gravel surface that goes from the driveway up to the barn. And so that can hopefully that will,
Up at the top here, right?
yeah, that's,
Yeah, okay.
so that's our parking space. It's fairly close to the new building also. And so I thought we had that all worked out. Now, we got a little bit of a surprise on Friday with the letter that came from MRV with their comments on it. Lance has got 18 points. And some of them had to do with the driveway and other things. So Mark's Engineering is our engineer. I talked with them about it briefly Friday and Monday. There are a couple of things that we're, well, Mark's revised the drawings to reflect a lot of what Lance asked for. And unfortunately, I apologize for not having him here any earlier than today. So I don't know if you had a chance to review the drawings that were revised today, but it does address parking. That's what this one is up on. It addresses the parking. It addresses a number of the other points, but some of the points we didn't have an opportunity yet to address. So those are still pending, and I'd like to have your thoughts on a couple of them. The one that's probably the biggest concern is the driveway. I wasn't aware until I got this letter that the driveway is out of compliance for a new project, and it's because of its length, because it's over 300 feet, it's closer to 600 feet, and because of its width. Right now, the driveway, I went out and measured it this afternoon. It ranges from, it's not always exactly the same, being a dirt and gravel drive, but it ranges from about 8.5 feet to about 10.5 feet. So the average is probably, around between 9.5 feet. And the requirement apparently is for a 12-foot wide driveway of adequate to support fire apparatus. So when you come down the driveway, I mean, we do have, the garbage truck gets down there every week, and we have pretty big trucks come and deliver things. So I've never had any worry that the fire department would not be able to get there, which one of the witnesses came as kind of a surprise. So I'd like to know to what extent that requirement is really, firm, cast in stone, or if there's any flexibility that we could take advantage of there, because rebuilding the whole driveway is going to be major, and this is not a high budget project. Is
the driveway our purview, or is it a building code?
New York State code.
New York State, so that would have to be-
So the fire code regulates driveways and roadways, right, in terms of providing safety features for the homes that are existing and proposed where appropriate. This one just unfortunately does not comply with those requirements. So we review every project that comes before you with that standard to make sure they're compliant. I think I don't want to speak for Chris, but I think fire code can be, certain features can be waived possibly by the code enforcement officer, depending on his purview of the code. I don't know that to be 100% true. There is some functions that they have where they can waive those requirements. I don't know if this is one of them or not. What I know is that the driveway as it stands is dirt, it doesn't suit, doesn't have the material to handle, technically handle. It may be able to, technically it doesn't have the material able to handle the emergency apparatus as required by the code. Doesn't have the width, it doesn't have the turnarounds that's required. Which any driveway over 500 feet has to have a pull over. Any driveway that's not 12 foot wide has to be extended to 5 foot wide. And any driveway that serves multiple buildings has to have ability to turn around. I think this one does have the turnaround, and so I would believe that would probably be sufficient if it was of the right material. Or they would put a bump out at the end, maybe utilize your driveway to the barn as a potential turnaround.
Does the existing driveway have any pullovers, or I guess you have driveways to different lots, right?
And the suitable surface typically is gravel, compacted to a point that meets the requirement.
This is a gravel drive. I mean, we have gravel delivered and,
have
supplement
it
the
right,
existing gravel on a regular
Yes,
basis.
from our standpoint, it was just really the width and and the pole, which I think you could use gravel
Yeah.
to fill in
I mean,
that
the
area.
pullover situation, when big trucks do come in, what they do is they turn by the barn and they just come down a little way and then they back out
Sure.
around to the other side of the circle and they head out. And
That might-
that's-
yeah.
you know,
They may also be able to, if they have to, if this has to be, if I'm correct and Chris, or incorrect, and Chris doesn't have the ability to waive it, then maybe there is some ability to not do your entire driveway all the way to the home at 12 foot wide, but to a point where there's a pullover and ability for fire trucks to come in and then move out if they have to. As opposed to doing the full length all the way around, just enough to get to the first structure or the bump out and then be able to go back.
This lot is at the terminus of the drive. This is the end of the driveway, right?
Yeah.
So how many
This-
houses use that driveway?
Actually,
That's what I was
this
gonna say.
driveway, you come off Westlake Road here and it splits here. There's another drive that comes down like this and serves two houses, one here, one here.
Okay, that's the first. one.
The first two houses, the
Okay.
southernmost two houses. And then
Continue.
then this, or left, and this goes, there's a drive that comes into this house. and then
Three houses.
And then the rest of it.
Into
comes
yours,
down to
and you
driveway.
have the big house, the little house.
Yeah, so if we, are you saying that?
I would say it would have to, I would think you're gonna have to pull a bump out somewhere in this area.
Mhm.
And then have a 12 foot wide, at least to that spot, and worst case, probably up to this, your barn, your garage.
Well, what, through here, there are some 5-year-old maple trees that are one of the nicest features of the
Sure.
property, but we really don't want to lose.
Sure.
What about, on the other hand, this straight part, which serves the other two houses, doesn't have those trees in it. And in fact, it's got a parking area like that. It's, again, natural.
Maybe what we need to do is have the plans updated to at least reflect those elements. And maybe some of those criteria would go away because of that additional information that's not shown, but
But I mean,
this,
could
this-
we just improve this part and then leave this the way it is? Would that satisfy?
it might, if this segment from here back is determined to not exceed that 500 foot, then yeah, some of those criteria would go away, possibly.
This is about.
You're,
This is about.
you're gonna have to have a pole regardless. Somewhere on this strip, there has to be an emergency pole over that meets the criteria.
What is a pool?
Like a 20 foot wide strip of additional, in this case gravel, on the side of the road, enough for a vehicle to move over and another vehicle to pass by. A lot of times it's used just so that if a vehicle has to do, if there's two vehicles coming, one going, they have the ability to move out of the way to accommodate that
But
without
since,
getting stuck.
since there's something here, couldn't one of them go like this? And then
100%, if this is there, that could, but
it's already
you're
there. Oh,
you're
okay.
probably going to have at least a pullover and that segment be 12 foot wide. At a minimum,
I think that.
That would
seems
have-
like it's
so it's
doable,
just-
But you're right.
The old story, is that driveway subject to an easement? No, I mean, is there agreement among the four property owners that,
Well, we
How do-
own it and the other owners have a right of way across it.
okay,
So they have an
own-
easement.
So it's on your
So they
property,
have a right.
Might be to get them.
and who maintains it? Who brings the stone in when it needs it? Who removes the snow?
They're not used in, we don't have snow removal on our part of it.
Right, you don't
The
need it, I
two,
guess.
the two houses where you go straight ahead, those are both newish houses. Those are both. built in the
Mhm, yeah.
last, You know, or. Those are winterized houses, so that part is plowed. They take care of plowing that part. We don't do any plowing because we're never there.
Yeah.
But in terms of maintenance, we typically share the maintenance. Either one person will do it or somebody will do it and ask the other ones to chip in. So it's
Informal, not formal.
informal, not formal.
Not formal.
Chuck,
Yes,
when I was down there this weekend, one of my first stops to the property was access and getting the fire truck. So one of the reasons for that, and I was actually pleased to see it, is you get a hydrant right near the barn.
There is a hydrant.
So that access to that becomes important for that whole area. I think there's a turnaround. They wouldn't actually take it to the round side over by the creek because of its proximity to the creek. But they could likely get in there if that was reinforced. It's a little bit difficult to tell where things are when you first go in. So I think, and again, if code can allow a deviation, then the simple way to look at this might be to get the fire department to bring it, to come in there. That's gonna be the largest apparatus that you would see that actually comes into there, but it would be the access to that hydrant, because the trees are beautiful. I completely agree with that. I saw that and my first thought was, how many of those branches come off when you go through? So, I don't know.
And for the record, the town did send it to the
Cheshire.
Fire department, yeah.
and we didn't get a copy back.
Where's that hydrant? Oh,
Right next to the barn.
Right next to the barn. Oh, okay.
Right in that corner.
Isn't there a hard surface? I thought there was a hard surface north of that. After.
I mean, which other creek? Who's the town for it? Hard surface. Because there was something here, but then there isn't kind of a hard.
Oh, this is the septic field.
Yeah.
Yeah, the driveway kind of widens out here, and there's not a lot of grass. It looks like it's a pump here, but in fact, this is quite a wide. You know, and it probably widens up around there. Anyway, it varies. Yeah, that's what I meant, but you could easily pull in here, back out there. Yeah. That's what trucks do now.
And that would be something like that. Turn around at the end of the driveway.
Wait, I see. Okay, yeah, obviously Chris Jensen has to get his blessing on this.
Well, just,
One way or the other.
yeah, for the record, as it relates to that specific. My comment letter says that it has to be compliant. You have Chris that says it has to be compliant to whatever that level is. And then if the board were to move forward tonight, it's conditioned on both of those letters, Chris's and MRB's. So at best case, we're solving a problem in the full extent possible. And if there is a deviation that is allowed, Chris can make that call internally as part of his review.
Okay, well, let's go back to that after we told it. So, are you done presenting? Oh, you were going over the MRB letter. Is there anything else you want to bring to
The
our
other
attention?
thing I just wanted to raise is this infiltration structure that we have shown on the plan.
Yes.
And it's something like a French drain. It's a trench of gravel. This area in front of the building is a recreation spot. That's where we play croquet and badminton, whatever. So it's open grass now. There's some larger trees along the north side of all the trees here along the creek bank also. And the purpose of this, or it has a couple of purposes. One is as a place to direct roof drainage off the gutters of the new building. The other thing is that I mentioned there is periodic flooding of the creek. And when Menteith Creek this is a sort of a flash flood situation, when there's a huge downpour up in the hills above Cheshire, like 15 minutes later, all of a sudden the creek will rise and it'll jump the banks back about halfway back to Westlake Road. And the water will come sheeting across through the woods and across our lawn and around the houses and leave a whole lot of leaves and logs and rocks and debris and silt. And it is something that doesn't happen every year. Last time it happened actually, I think was 2017. And before that, it happened maybe 2 or 3 times in the 5 years before that. So it's irregular, but it's a pain in the neck. And with this project, we hope to grade things so that we can kind of channel that flow of floodwater when it happens. And the idea of the infiltration structure was to have a subterranean gravel path for that water to move toward the lake. So you didn't see it on the surface. We'd still have a level grass surface across the top, but it would be an area that would sort of suck up this water and allow it to, you know, dissipate to a certain extent before it just hits the lake. We still would have a fair amount of cleanup ourselves, but we thought this would have a combination of being a lake-friendly, you know, measure, as well as helping us to limit the amount of cleanup that we have to do, and at the same time take care of the reef drainage. So
Did the little house flood?
Lance asked for some additional detail about the capacity of it, and I mean, my thought about it was, well, this is certainly way, we could just create a small rain garden, and that would be adequate to take care of the roof drainage. And this is the sort of thing that you can't predict how much floodwater there's going to be. So
Sure, no, I think I was just really looking for some type of a calc that Brendan Mark's team could put together that would demonstrate that it's doing, so the town has a requirement that says over a certain threshold, we have to do water quality. So my concern is I gotta be able to justify to the town that you're at least meeting that criteria. And so I need them to provide me the calc that demonstrates that we're at least achieving that. If it does anything more, great. If you have other mechanisms on site that do additional, because I agree, you have other things that you're proposing that make sense to me that it's going to
I
have.
mean, it's discretionary, and it's the sort of thing, it's not really tied to the project itself.
Sure.
And, you know, who knows, if push comes to shove on the cost, we may say, listen, we really can't afford to do this right now.
Right.
Let's just do a little rain garden to take care of the gutters and.
That's fine. I just need to be able to document that, yeah, this was provided, it's justified. We're good. And it can come in many different forms. So it's not like.
Okay, no, that's great. I appreciate that.
Does the little house, did that flood during these big storm events? Did it go?
Well, it certainly flooded in Hurricane Agnes.
Oh, okay.
Um,
But that 2017 rain, it went
No.
around it, but didn't go through.
No, it went under it.
And your new building structure's 2 foot higher.
2.5 feet higher.
2.5 feet
So,
higher.
and it's mounted up around it, so
Mm.
floods will not affect that. That'll be best of the 3 houses. From that point.
And you're 35 feet from Menteith Creek, I believe.
Yes.
And that's pre-existing, and so that's why the ZBA was not involved in any variances for that.
I did some.
Same with the 3 homes on.
Yeah, on one lot.
So, yeah.
Let's see, board, do you have any questions?
I guess.
I mean, first of all, we got the plans today. Obviously, we know that Chris has some remaining issues, outstanding issues. There's 2 ways we can handle that. We can either have the applicant go back to Chris and say, you know, get them resolved with Chris and come back to us, or make it conditional that Chris will be satisfied. If Chris is never satisfied, then I guess we won't sign the plans. But oh, that's something to think about as to how we want to move forward on that. But,
For the record, why isn't the driveway pre-existing?
Well, when there is more than 50% new construction, site disturbance, the regulations kick in.
50%.
Is this more than 50?
Looking at the whole property or just the house, the little house?
The little house.
So because they're replacing the little house, even though it's on a huge property, it's pre-existing. They've got to go through and meet the fire. So
How did that not fall into the last house that we just approved? It was full tear down on a small lot. But they got their variances. I mean, they're pre-existing conditions on that one side approved. That doesn't make
But
sense.
this is relevant to fire code.
You talking about the driveway? Why isn't the driveway
Yeah, it's on this
pre-existing?
point. Yeah, why isn't this one pre-existing?
And how do you equate that to what we talked about?
The last house was 50%, more than 50% tear down, basically. is what
Right.
you're
Yeah, the
saying.
whole house. the whole
Right,
house
but
went
they,
down.
I mean, they were meeting fire code separations between the two buildings, that was all. Ensured that was met.
Yeah.
This is not zoning.
Yeah.
Really,
So,
this is
yeah.
New York State building, or New York State fire code, safety code.
Right, correct. And any driveway, existing or proposed. And we have been trying to, I think there's been a couple where we've had some discussions, but we just had one, I don't know, not that long ago. They had to put a pullover on the driveway
Irish settlement.
over
wasn't
500
it?
feet.
Or no,
yeah, And do the
Center
apron of the
Point.
driveway.
Is it Center Point one?
I think it was within the last 2 or 3
We
meetings.
had a block actually. but-
So I'm pretty sure we've been required. This one's a little bit different because unfortunately they, the gravel, but it's the 9-foot line. Where most of the driveways that we've seen, existing or proposed, have all been 12 or wider. So that aspect of it hasn't been a big issue. This one also has over 4 residents serving over, which by definition to the town, there's a private road dialogue that's going on behind the scenes too, as to when does it become a driveway to a road? Those are the other dilemmas that we're dealing with, so. At this point, we believe it has to be fire code compliant. Those are the concerns that we've identified that have to be addressed both from Chris and from us. If there's an opportunity to deviate from that, my thoughts are that will be done internally with Chris as he reviews it going forward.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants to argue that it's a pre-existing driveway and all we're doing is tearing down an existing structure and building maybe a little bigger structure to be used a little more frequently than in the past. I don't know where the fire code comes down on something like that, or if replacing a. If there is such a thing as pre-existing in the fire code.
Right, I don't think there is, but I don't know, I don't know. the,
Well, I think,
the code.
the applicant's gonna have to make peace with Chris on that issue. And that's, any other issues, in terms of the site plan? Let's see.
I wanted to ask one question, and it kind of relates to the driveway discussion, just for context in my brain. When were you looking to complete the construction of the new home?
Our hope is to start in the late summer after Labor Day and complete it by early next summer.
Okay. So end of whatever year it is now, 2022, give or take.
Well, it would extend into 2023.
Okay,
It would be over the winter, so it'd be hopefully done by May.
right,
It's pretty small, but.
okay.
it is winter.
I don't think shoreline guidelines apply too much because the house sits back off the shoreline. So
Right.
at least we discussed it, but I don't think there's any application here.
But also, I think the landscape plan was fantastic.
Yes, I'm certainly.
Yeah.
better.
So
Agree.
There are a lot of trees on the site too.
Yeah.
because,
We'll have to plan it. Easements we talked about. There's no NRI issues, right?
Right.
All of any of those. We did send it to Cheshire Fire, but we haven't gotten any response from them. ECB had concern about parking surfaces, saving the tree roots. They concerned, I guess, in
That
Doing
had
the-
to do with the infiltration structure.
Okay.
To sever the roots, which will definitely avoid the.
And Tyler, I saw an email that said he appears adequate to handle the additional bedroom or whatever.
You're adding on 2 fingers to the leach field, is that the green, right?
Yes, there are
Okay.
existing 6, so there are going to be 2 more.
Okay.
And it'll be limited on the bedrooms, which we had discussed at PRC, I think, right? So, the number of bedrooms that are
You're
existing,
adding
they're adding.
1 bedroom and 2 baths.
Above what there is now.
Yes, right. So that's that's the additional review. That was part of it. So.
Any archaeological? You would be the person to ask. I noticed on the seeker part one.
Yeah,
that,
Mark's ran it through the
Chipper.
Chris system and it came back, you know, there's something within a mile or 2 miles or whatever. I have no idea what it is. I mean, you know, people sometimes will find an arrowhead in the stream, but I wasn't, usually when there's a positive response like that, it has to do with a site where there's been a public project and there's been a phase 1 archaeology survey, but I
It's
don't
not
know where it
necessarily
would
the site
be.
itself.
Yeah.
I can't-
But then you use your letter require a release, or you say, did you say anything in your?
No, as long as
No.
the EAF reflects that it was him, which it does, I believe. We don't have, I mean, this is a tear down of an
And it is a type two.
of an existing
It's a
feature,
disturbed
right?
site.
Exactly, so I don't, there's no issue there. The ones where we typically call it out are when it's a vacant site and they're gonna build something new on it that hasn't been built there before. That's where we, on a residential project, where we usually ask them to do more research and get that sign off. And this one, tear down, rebuild of an existing on the same site. And
Board have any more issues up to, and then we'll go back and to this driveway issue and how we're gonna handle it, and the fact that the plans came in today. Anyway, any more issues? Nope. Well, Sarah, you had said that you probably were planning late summer, early fall to start this project. Could we continue this for 2 weeks or until our April 12th meeting? And you, in the meantime, could sit down with Chris and come up with a resolution as to how we're gonna handle this driveway, possibly.
Do your best.
if anything, you can at least show the existing features of the driveways that you had highlighted
Mhm.
and make your statement that way and see what, if any, alterations from the code could be
You
allowed.
had mentioned possibly improving the first leg of it.
Actually, there is a very, a great candidate location for a pull-off. The only thing about it is we have leased it to our neighbor to use as a parking area. So it would be conceivable that if there were an emergency, there would be cars parked there already.
I think as long as the driveway as long as you could document that you're as compliant with this code as you possibly can be, and we have Chris's authorization, if you show those on this plan and you're satisfied, I think
Yeah,
that would be beneficial.
I mean, it's already compacted, it's already.
I don't think the materials will concern as much of it.
It's
What's the
just
width
space.
and then the
But
certain
there's, yeah,
pole.
there's a lot of room there to maneuver around. There are no trees that right anywhere nearby, so that would be, it's level, so that would be.
So while you're doing your homework with Chris, we could do our homework and review the plan we see today. Further change of the plan. Once you
Well, I
and Chris
think
come up with an agreement, then make sure you get that to us a week ahead of the, well.
I think there may be other minor changes to the plan because I don't think that Mark's addressed every one of your 18
Yeah,
points.
I would-
In this latest one that they did today, we made sure that they did the parking space.
And-
with one of the
And that's
keys.
fine if they're minor things that we make it conditions of the approval, so.
If I may, yeah, I mean, in lieu of her revising plans, again, and resubmitting plans at a cost to her, and then the review fee from us, maybe the solution is meet with Chris, come up with a game plan of how you're going to address that, and then provide some statement to, a letter statement back to us. Ultimately, it's gonna have to be reflected on plans that we get anyway, so in lieu of doing it twice, my thought is have the conversation with Chris, whatever that requirement's going to be, you can write it out, document to us that we've addressed it, this is how we're gonna do it, and then we can make that a
So we'll just-
condition.
we'll aim
Well,
for-
have to Chris.
We're getting a revision to you by April 5th. That'll give you a week to
Right, but
review it. And
what I'm thinking is even if you revise it again, I'm gonna have to review these plans, then you're gonna send me those plans, I'm gonna review those plans, and then you're gonna get conditioned, and you're gonna revise them.
Yeah, so why don't you not review
That's
this
what I'm
until
saying.
April 5th after,
I'm just-
after you
yeah,
get everything.
I would
worked
just,
out?
exactly, don't spend the time and money
I
to
agree, yes.
revise it again, only to have to do it 2 more times. I think you're better served meeting with Chris, documenting how you're gonna address this and submitting that documentation to the board for their meeting.
Does that work for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
I didn't go to the audience. Is there anyone out there that would like to address the board regarding this application on Menteith Point? I don't think there's anybody left. Chris. Okay, so if I could get a motion to continue the review of the site plan to the April 12th meeting. I think everybody's in agreement.
Yep. So moved.
Okay. Second. Second? Okay, all, did you get the motion second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks for your cooperation.
Thank you, Linda.
Hopefully get this squared away. All righty. Page. Do I have a motion to approve our March 8th?
I will make that motion.
Okay, let's make the motion. I'll second. Second from Scott. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, John. As always.
I get staying.
Totally absent. Okay, there are no releases for of a financial nature. Okay. Nothing from the town board, nothing from ZBA. Nothing from to Chris, except what's the situation on Menteith? Comprehensive plan. Any updates on that at all?
No.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
All right, let's take care of this next thing. Let's see, we have a request from Mr. Futterman to 90-day extension on his single stage site plan approval, which expires next month.
I attached the original resolution to the resolution that's tonight, just so that you have an idea what those conditions included, because I didn't see a letter or request from them, and so we sure.
There should be a request.
If there was
Yeah,
one, I didn't see it. I
online.
apologize.
Is it, there should be a Futterman, I thought she put it up.
There is. I mean,
Yeah. The request
to the west.
on the FTP for the, yes, we've been making sure that they
No, that's
require.
good. I will make sure then I add a whereas to the flag.
Yeah, the letter. Yep. The middle one? Yes, please. They are waiting approval of their septic system. That is the reason for the request.
And this is the first request. So is the 90 days from April 24th or from tonight? May, June,
Did I-
July.
did I-
It'll be
Okay, it'll be
from,
from the 24th. Okay,
Tonight.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we have a request for a 90-day extension to July 23rd of this year. Have a motion, please. Bob's made the motion.
No.
Mark.
Oh, Mark did?
You just can't hear me.
I can't. You're my bad ear. You gotta speak up.
Yes, I do.
Don't be shy. No, I'll go.
I'll second it.
Hey,
I heard that.
I heard Bob second. I know that it's not Amanda's. Okay, we got a motion second to give Mr. Fullerman a 90-day extension. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Any reports on your projects? I see Bob has handed out a proposal.
Yeah, it's I think my final proposal. Because it addresses a change to some zones some, pulling out some of the RR3 and one other one, I think it was, but pulling out a couple of those. Oh, there it is. AR1 and AR2, pull those out of this large scale. And then some more rewriting of the buffer zones, some more code change on 77.1 because it talked about the same areas. And then the definitions for the buffer zone, exactly explaining what the buffer zone is. So basically, solar would only be allowed in commercial, industry, and R3 rural residential.
Large solar.
Pardon?
Large solar or also?
Large,
So completely no ag, really.
no ag. That's what I got rid of ag.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I talked a lot about this and I think I talked to you kind of about how the zoning officer was the one person that reviewed those special permits before we saw them in the code. And, but I want to add the zoning officer, the PRC, and the ag committee to review before we get it, so that we can get their words on it before we see the special permit. And then that way we can feel well about the ag committee signing off or not signing off on it. And then the other two, just make sure it's right for where it's signed.
Yeah, because the ag committee has to certify whether it's primo.
Yep.
Primo land,
Right.
prime land.
Right.
So
And the
I
way
guess by
I
taking
do-
the ag districts out, that'll.
So
Help
by
a lot.
taking that out, though, when I talked to the ag committee chairman, Bob,
DeCarlo.
thank you. He talked a lot about how that the circle of ag land is somewhat going to be further defined and further changed.
Yes, so.
Yeah, so instead of just saying just because some property may become more primo land than other lands. So that's why I wanted his say in the process before we got it.
Yeah.
He kind of liked that too.
Yeah, you could have an R3, but you're left in, which is fine. As a farm, it might be a farm now, but it's in R3, so.
Yeah.
We, again, when they asked the ag committee, how they interpret the quality of soil.
And it basically kept all the other rooftops, capability,
Yeah.
all that stuff is still in there as a possibility.
So it's primarily addressing large scale.
Yep.
Okay. All right, why don't we take this under advisement? Thank you. Presentation, John, you have a copy for the minutes?
I'll send you electronic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
So we will see what we're considering. Thank you for doing that. So we'll please review it and we'll consider it as a possible recommendation to the ordinance committee with any amendments we may have next month or next meeting.
So we'll put this on board business, continue. For April 12th.
Yeah, April 12th.
I do have a question about the 5G, which was my project. I've talked to the town of Pittsburgh. They're doing nothing at this point. It's like nobody wants to really jump in.
Yeah.
I talked to the town of Skinny Atlas, the same way. The girl from Skinny Atlas referred me to something I already had for Dutchess County, which is all I could find online. My thought was, what would happen if we contacted, let's say Verizon, and said, talk to us, tell us what you're seeing, not just in New York State or upstate. What are you seeing from municipalities for these cell sites? You know, they need to be, and as I mentioned last time, on light poles, they're spacing, they can't go on existing cell towers. They need to be more concentrated in, as we already know. So why not go to the source? They're eventually going to come to us, I would think.
Yeah, no use creating something they can't live with.
Right, you know, and have them, they're the experts and say, you know, this is what we're looking at from towns and across the country. You know, things to consider, because I'm, and again, if, you know, I thought we'll reach out to similar communities, and like I said, Pittsburgh and Minneapolis, and they don't have
We hadn't
anything,
thought about it.
they don't have any, you know.
Most communities that I'm involved with from MRB's perspective, just like your situation, there isn't a lot of code out there on it right now. And they're all having these dialogues that you guys are having as well. And they're all looking for
somebody else, right? It was funny because Atlas referred me to the exact article that, you know, it's
Right.
Dutchess County or whatever, and I was like, I already get printed that out and she sent me that. Okay. So they're looking too, but there's just not a lot out there. So would we communicate with Verizon and say, hey, come and talk to us, you know, let us pick your brains. You tell us what you might be looking
Sure,
for.
I mean, yeah, we could have another one, or you talk to them initially
Yeah,
and find out who to talk to. Let's do all the legwork and then. Is the FCC involved at all? And
I'm sure they are.
sure
It's
they
not
are.
because there's regulations.
yeah, I'm not sure what the FCC requires or, oh, we get into that situation with cell towers that towns have very little control over cell towers. It's a,
You know, it's
The
a certain amount
communication
we can
system.
charge Verizon to, I mean, there's all kinds of regulations out there. But-
Well-
So that would be my suggestion at this point.
I could possibly say a corporation, the reason we got into this, I think, was just these units, these transmitters on all these poles throughout the town and, you know,
They just
I
don't.
think
have
we
the
already
range.
agreed poles are
Yeah,
eyesore.
they don't have the range, but.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you contact Verizon, find out who the people to talk to are, and certainly we could have them come into a meeting, tell us about 5G, it'd be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. All righty, let's move on. Excuse me.
Update on training. I wanted to update.
You have an update, yes.
Yes, so
Newly announced.
many of you probably received it twice. But the 22nd, April 22nd, we'll be having all day training here. Woo, woo-hoo. So if you haven't filled out my survey, please do. I know some of you have, because I can tell who writes. You can tell by your writing. You don't want comments.
Oh, boy.
It's not unanimous, just FYI. But yeah, if you could fill that out, and then we'll send the formal registration out soon. So the newbies will get.
Yeah, get their hours quick.
Nice.
You
Well,
can make it.
Good job.
well, we've got two.
You already had,
I have 1.5. Yes, I'm right. we all have two from,
from,
and
yeah.
then this will be what, 8?
This will be a full day, 8 if we can squeeze it in, maybe 7.
Don't wait.
Yeah,
We are gonna be doing the sexual harassment training. I confirmed that this morning. You all need that.
With this training or separate?
No, with it. We're gonna
Good.
do it
Now,
in
is
the
that-
Might as
morning.
well.
so,
Hold on, I have
Oh.
a 2022 version that I sent in the other day from New York State,
Okay, great.
so that's okay. I don't need to do it twice.
I do, is it workplace violence as well?
Yes. It's
Now-
New York State's program for managers.
I'm assuming that's, I don't, HR does that, so.
is that in addition to the, 'cause
Ask Lindsay.
being a new employee, we had to
Sign all
review the
kinds of stuff.
website and then we completed the little, you know, Joey and Susie have a
Well, you can
conversation.
go out to Tim Hortons during that
Yeah.
training.
And we did, I just did that this week online.
Did you?
That was a requirement, right?
It was.
You had to do it.
Right, and some
Because
people, I mean, it's a requirement every year, so a lot of people, it's,
Right.
it'll be lapsed.
I'll ask. Because it would be great not to spend that hour and a half of my life twice or more than a year.
But for us, people really need it. It'll be part of the treatment.
Chuck, I feel harassed by that statement.
Some of
I
those
rest
people, I
myself.
don't know what they mean.
Well, and other people do not. Any other training?
Oh, yes, Genesee Finger Lakes. Finger Lakes Regional Planning Council is having a training on May something, 12 maybe, in Batavia, in person.
Oh,
I haven't received that. Did you get that today? Somebody got
I've
it.
heard it from. I don't
Sarah
recall
got it today,
seeing
but I
it.
didn't get it.
John, have you But Matteli, have you
John,
got,
you usually get those.
sometimes it comes through him. I have not seen it,
So
but I've
the rumor
heard that they
is
were doing
it's-
them back in June.
Yeah, in Batavia.
And the.
And it's like
the
they
Planning
used to do in
Federation
Pittsburgh
has
when they did
agreed to do
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Yeah, the planning federation,
They haven't started
they
up
usually
yet.
do their one in the spring, but a lot of their training lately has been web,
Online.
web-based. So I don't know if that's gonna change.
And this training will not be virtual at all.
Okay, Sunset Ridge, AKA Canada Stores, whatever. Formerly known as. You have sent out the declaration or the,
Lead agency coordination, you guys, correct.
so and that went out on the 12th.
I think it was the 15th of March
You
or the
said
12th, I
deadlines-
don't remember. now.
You said that the cutoff, the 30
But the
days up.
The 30-day this April 15th.
So do we want to open the public hearings on the 12th prior to the 15th? And obviously, I think we realized this is going to take more than one session to go through those plans and hear from the residents. So do we want to get it started on the 12th or wait till after the 15th and start it on the 26th? Or is the first public hearing?
Can I ask a question to that question?
I'll try.
And maybe this is for you and Shauna and probably Lance as well. Has there been improvement in communication with town staff compared to the last application on this similar project?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
What do you mean with the applicant?
correct.
Yes,
Oh.
they have
Yes.
been very receptive and working very closely with staff.
Okay.
I think actually from the one of the very last iterations of the plan, we've been working on with.
And I think the eliminating of the MUO aspect, which is involving the town board and that coordination
That was a
and their
lot.
wishes. I think there's some back and forth on that front.
Mhm.
With that not being associated with this project at this time of being proposed as part of the, I think that's streamlined some of the conversations and it made it a little bit easier on both sides.
Yeah, and so amenable that we've asked them to change the name of the subdivision to something more historic and applicable to the town, and they've agreed, so that's
Oh,
good.
so it's not Sunset Ridge.
Wow.
No, I said, somebody said that's where it sounds like you go to die, so.
Classic.
That's Boot Hill. No cold Boot
So
Hill.
anyways, we've given them suggestions
Okay.
on something more appropriate for the town.
Okay.
I guess the question is why wait till the later? Why not start earlier?
Hopewell, is there anything that Hopewell's been doing that would affect when we start this?
No.
No?
It has been forwarded to Hopewell. I am attending a meeting on Monday to introduce it to their planning board. As just an FYI, this is what we've got. This is, what is being proposed. They're aware of it. They're aware of the changes. Brennan and his team, as part of the previous go around, had come in and talked to their board about what some of the changes that they could expect to see that would impact them. So it's gonna be introduced. I don't know if they'll have a formal response back to you at this meeting, which is why I'm attending, so that I can relay some of those concerns, if any, back to you guys as on their behalf. But because their town board has to get it, the highway superintendent has to get it, and the planning board's getting it. So Hopewell may come with, I'm hoping it would be nice to get a response from all of them formally back to you. I just don't know if that will be done before your next meeting. So I'm going through this meeting in hopes to get some of that, that feedback to bring back. But I guess my thoughts are, this is likely going to be a multiple step process that we've seen before, and likely waiting enough time to make sure that you guys get all the information needed to make your determination on that environmental process.
So there's nothing in the secret rules that says we can't open a public hearing prior to letting the 30 days.
100% no. There's, public hearings are not required for seeker. They are required for subdivision. as long as you have one prior to a final decision being rendered, and Chris can speak on that. In our case, we've always done prior to a preliminary decision.
And obviously, we can't act until that time.
Chris, do you want to add to that?
But, no, I agree with what Lance said. You 20 public hearings before addressing seeker. You wouldn't because it's impractical and inefficient, but we can absolutely open a public hearing prior to the seeker timing being, prior to you being able to make a secret determination.
And a lot of the reasons why you guys have always done it is, one, to be transparent, and two, in case there's feedback from the residents that you want to incorporate into your decision. And I think on every project that I'm aware of, since I've been working with you guys for 17 years, that's what you guys do.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be taking any action on seeker. All right, well then, I think the procedure that night would be the applicant would make a presentation on his new plans, and anybody in the audience, we can certainly ask questions, initial questions, and get some feedback from the applicant, and we'd open it up to the audience and hear what their comments and concerns are, and then probably continue it to, depending on what comes out of the meeting, at least the 26th.
Because you're gonna try to get feedback from those involved agencies, which isn't due the 15th, so the first time that you're gonna have them all technically would be the 26th. I think it's the next day.
These referrals have all gone out, right? For the PRC meeting, so. Okay, assuming the
Yeah.
plans don't change, those referrals are out there and whether they're getting
We should be getting
responses.
responses for those as well. Yeah. Again, you might not have them all for the 12th.
Oh, no, we
but for
don't
the
need them.
26th.
We'd have to, before we vote. Okay,
That's
all right, sound like a
actually
plan.
agenda to put them on.
So that leaves the 12th currently Thornton Engineering, possibly with Uptown Landing, who was asked to be taken off the last agenda. Whether they're ready to move forward with their sketch plan, I guess we'll find out. We have, yeah. And we have Sarah Linda. And we'll have the opening of the hearing on Shack Acres.
Jesus, that sounds like something.
That's historic, that's historic. All righty. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group? I don't think I have. Well, I'm good. Everybody else good?
Can I ask something, Shawna?
Sure.
The zoning board decision letter that we get in our package has no decision in it. The decision you gave me finally when I asked for it had the decision approved. But the one that's in the file, there's no determination of
I
decision.
pulled
in
that
it.
from the OneDrive. The one that's in your FTP site. See, I don't look in there. I look in my,
That's the only place we got.
Yeah.
meaning when I looked for what you're
Yeah.
asking for, I just went into my OneDrive and pulled it up. So.
Right, so when I look at it, it shows a decision determination, but it doesn't say approved or disapproved.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's all it says.
If you had,
Yeah,
if you put in our file copy before you, as a result from the hearing, zoning hearing, that would be. Because the only way I know is either I
Yep.
sat in on the meeting or I call up Michelle the next day and say, did they get their variance?
Michelle, you guys usually send it to me. That's fine.
So, yeah,
So,
Shauna does her ZLD. That's just to say what's needed. But as far as the results of what occurs, yeah, when you see on our agenda that the subject to a hearing on the 15th of March, right now, did they get it or didn't they get it?
Right, because they actually do a statement of findings, which absolutely details everything.
Right.
Yeah.
What you
Okay.
gave me.
That's what
Yeah, and that was
that's
perfect.
what I thought you wanted, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize they weren't.
They're not on there.
You guys get them, they're usually done the day after the meeting or no?
Now they are, that we have different chairmen.
That's, I just was
Yeah.
curious to know, because I know sometimes that could be
It was a
the reason
week or
for
Am I
two
the only one that saw
away.
that?
Yeah.
Am I the only one that noticed that?
No, I noticed it too, but
I need
that's why
help.
I listed zoning determination as a training. item.
Mm.
Because I thought-
They're going in order. They're letting you go.
Now, I
I want someone to back me up.
I mean,
Yeah, so the zoning law determination is really important to read.
Yeah.
You know, it really kind of sets the stage for why you have this application in front of you.
That's why I'm asking you so many questions on this stuff, and you're like, why is he asking me these questions?
Those were good questions, but I was,
So,
why, we don't have any variances for those, that's what.
because I didn't find the answer. Related to that, I mean, we had said, I don't remember if it was the last meeting or the meeting before that, that we were gonna stop accepting late stuff.
I was gonna mention that. I was gonna apologize for the barrage of
I mean,
plans. and
if it's
everything.
not administrative, can we just move to a level that we just don't accept them? I mean, I don't wanna be a jerk for their plans. but know
I have-
people wanna-
Yeah, I guess, not, you guys can, it's in your rules of procedure that you don't accept them the night of the meeting, but I think there's some wiggle room there. That's neither here nor there. I guess my thought is we had this discussion before you guys came on, and I mentioned I mean, from our side of the table, engineering side, you know, because we do both, so we, you know, I have a site team that does similar work in some of the communities, not many. They are trying to address, show that they're moving towards in the right direction and responding back to these comments from all staff, which sometimes comes in early and unfortunately sometimes comes too late. And they're trying to show that they're moving forward in the right direction. I have a thought on that. One is, I've told them before, just give us a response letter. Just provide a response letter that documents that you've received them and you're open to those comments, or come here and do exactly what we've done on every project that comes before them, which is you represent the applicant and you state that there's no issues with those comments received, and we work through them. Number two, if you do get something, I think, and this is where I look to Chris and you guys, I don't think I don't think technically you have to accept it today. They could have submitted it today. Doesn't mean we have to accept it. We still look at the old plans and all comments as you did on the one that predated. I think the only time where I see an issue, and we got it raised today, was when you have a public hearing scheduled and the town receives something. I don't know technically if the town receives something that it has to be broadcast that day, even because you're discussing it, even though it came late after your submission. I don't know that answer.
Shauna and I had a conversation about this earlier today, and it's a delicate balance. You know, if an applicant amends the plans to respond to a comment letter, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes on most of these applications. Town staff, MRB group are working with the applicants saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. You know, if the plans haven't changed significantly beyond responses to comments, you know, I don't think that's a significant enough change to necessarily keep them off the, to bump them to the next meeting, but it's a judgment call that you need to trust your development staff to make, and empower them to make. Say, look, if this is gonna show up at our meeting tonight and we're not gonna be able to make a vote, then it's the next meeting. If this is gonna be just a minor technical modification that Lance and Chris Jensen and Sean are gonna review, you know, after the meeting prior to signatures, great, let's move things along. You don't want to be a town that slows down development, or not just development, that slows down applications. But your development staff, if you empower them to, should be able to make those decisions for you.
I agree. I know this fact that they respond to reviews. I guess that's like Lance said, it's just their second nature. They get a review letter and I tell my engineer, get it changed and comply and get it in so we get new plans. I guess you just have to make sure that they understand that's not critical.
Yeah, I think I usually email it both to the town and to the applicant so that they get it at the same time, because there is time to go through all these things. And along the way, they're submitting new information. One example was tonight, there was information received on the 16th. We reviewed it that day and included it in there. Sometimes when there's a variance application, we wait until the variance is done so that we're not generating a cost and a review on an application that may or may not move forward,
Which you did with.
which we did with the. So we most certainly I think there's room for improvement on our end to get it out sooner. But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. But to your point, when I send these emails out, I think what I could do from our standpoint is just reiterate that what we're looking for prior to the meeting, if possible, as a response letter. That way we can review that or have a conversation on that with the board at the meeting with the public.
Maybe we can stress that at PRC.
We can do that at PRC, and we can also do it in our communication, not just in the letter, but in the emails.
But in the case where an applicant instigates a change in the plan, he wants to change the building shape or the
Right.
type of building or the subdivision or something. In that case, it can't be any sooner than agreed upon. Is it a week? 10 days, 10 days.
Is it 10?
I thought it was 10 days. If it's instigated by the applicant, he's gotta, gotta get it in 10 days before our
Agree
meeting.
with that.
Okay.
And
as
make
far
one
as-
more comment about that. So when it's just technical, responses to comment letters submitted the day of the meeting, Lance and Shauna and Chris Jensen probably don't have a chance to review it before you have the meeting and then vote to approve it. So you technically don't really even know which plan you're approving. That is all solved by adding a condition that, all comments of the town engineer must be satisfied prior to signature. And I want to be clear, not all comments in a letter dated such and such.
Oh, as it's
That allows Lance to say, wait a minute, I came up with a new comment. Wait, I want this as well. I want another thing. If you just limit him to the stuff he already came up with, and then the plans change to respond to his comments, what if they don't change to his liking? So stop putting dates in your conditions, is my point there.
But I think also when a plan comes in 4 hours or whatever, 5 before a meeting, it just doesn't give, regardless of whether staff has time to review, nobody has time to look at it. Sarah Linda's plans came in at 11 this morning. I didn't even get to the email until like 3 o'clock today. Right, so I think what happened, pushing it to the 12th was absolutely appropriate.
Okay. We haven't solved the problem.
We're working on it.
I appreciate the recommendations and the, wanting to be upfront before getting to the final stages where we're here to say response letter,
I like
I think that could work.
email, words. Yes,
communication.
yes.
I mean, just some notice. I review all this. I go to every one of these sites. I do my diligence to try to make sure that I go to every one of these sites. I'm happy to do that up until the weekend before. Realistically, but once we get to Monday, Tuesday, there's just life gets in the way. And that's makes it's the reality of it. It's not an excuse. And when you walk in and hear, oh, we have new plans, I haven't looked at them today.
We can only do the best we can do.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else?
35, just get a class.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn today at 8:34 PM.
Okay, second.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Chris. That was
Thanks, Ed.
resounding.